Welcome back, everybody. Fantasy Endgame. We're here to mock with you, and that link is going to drop in a second. If you want to join us and draft with us and against us, you can do that. That's what we do here. By the way, you can also do that. You can draft with us and join an actual dynasty league. That's right, long term, built for the future, and we teach you how to do that. If you go to flockfantasy.com/endgame and get any subscription, you can find that Building Champions Dynasty course, learn how to do it. Join the league with us. We got a few spots left in our second Dynasty League. We're excited for another startup. But for now, let's get to the redraft mock. Looks like we're going with a full PPR redraft mock tonight. 2 receivers, though.
Yeah, redraft, PPR, 1 QB, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex. You guys said this is the most common format. I think like 70% of you said this is what you play in, so figure we'll do that. We'll go back to the 3 wide receiver drafts from time to time, but want to give the people what helps you out the most for your upcoming drafts.
There you go. And Roberto, it is a Roberto. Haven't seen you in the last couple of weeks. Ready to get spicy. And let's see. So again, you might notice we got some people already in. He's already in. He's at the 9, ready to pick right before me, which I picked, Chris, right before you. So we got 9, 10, 11. It's going to be like a murderer's row there. Clayton is at the 8. Who knows what he's going to do tonight? He likes to make a different team every single night. And then got Anthony at the 7. Keith is at the 6. Slots 1 through 5 are open. So let's do it. Let's see who gets in.
All right, here we go. 6 spots. Buster Boom, what's up, Francis?
Hey, it's been a while. NMB back in the house. Cat Stafford. I don't recognize Cat Stafford.
I don't either, but that's hilarious. We got NMB, Fantasy Sleeper, Taz. Just incredible. I haven't seen him in a while either. He used to. It shows people are getting back into fantasy. I like it.
There you go. This is the time. Keith choosing not to go right after the murderer's row. That's a smart choice. Going at the 6. All right. And just like that, we're full. So let's get it started.
Let's go. Taz, you're on the clock. The number 1 pick. Taz got in. Taking over. Justin saying what's up. Taz not happy with the 1 slot, apparently. What's wrong with the 1 slot?
I mean, it makes your choice easier, but yeah, we've been saying this over and over. Redrafts. It seems like the teams at the 11 and 12 always come out with better rosters. I mean, I don't know if that's. I mean, it's easy to say now, right? Of course, when the season ends, you might say, man, that really sucked being at the end. But
yeah, exactly.
Usually we don't like to talk too much about players before they get drafted. We just started. So come on, let's just do this. Rank these 3. Okay, so we'll see these guys go pretty close to each other. Najee, Etienne, and Gibbs. And of course, this is all subjective. You might have them ranked a little differently than I do, but what's your take?
Yeah, this is, man. I assume we're talking redraft. This is. I don't know. I mean, these guys are all very, very, very close for me. These are probably like if I was ranking, it'd be one guy, one guy, one guy. Like, I don't even think there'd be anybody in between these guys. So, I'll say in that order, Najee, Etienne, and Gibbs. But man, it's not like I feel like much better about Najee than Etienne or Gibbs. It's just. That's probably the order, but very close for me.
Yeah, I'm still going Najee first. I know some people disappointed because he didn't, have a monster season last year. This offense was in transition from Trubisky for whatever reason to Pickett. A little more stability there. Roberto, I thought my decision was going to be easy. I was going to take Kelsey. All right. Let's go with the veteran there. I probably made your decision easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, do I take The known commodity in Diggs, do I take Garrett Wilson? I went Diggs. I'm okay with that. All right. But with Najee, Etienne, Gibbs, I'm still going to go with Najee because he does still catch a fair amount of passes. That's something that's going to help you in PPR. Etienne did not catch that many passes last year. We thought he would be a PPR monster. He wasn't. And that was surprising. I don't know that that's going to change this year. They're still going to use another guy. Tank is not necessarily going to be that guy. He's not like a Charbonnet or anything, but I don't know, man. I just don't see the Etienne breakout season coming. So I think he's solid as a high-end RB2, but so is Najee.
Yeah.
I'll probably put him in that order also.
Happy to get Eckler on the way back. That was nice.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Barkley going before Eckler. I mean, I kind of agree with this as far as Etienne versus Tank. I like Tank, and I think Tank will be involved. But I think Monty gets more touches than Tank, and I think Monty has a bigger slice of the pie for that backfield than Tank, which means I do think I could see Gibbs potentially getting as many, maybe more touches than Etienne. Between Etienne and Gibbs, I think I'd say Gibbs maybe has a slightly higher floor in PPR just because we know they probably plan to dump it off to him a lot. Etienne might have a higher weekly ceiling, though. He's a little bit more of like an explosive run guy, right? And that Jaguar offense I feel a little bit better about than the Detroit offense.
Yeah, I think these guys are all very close. They're probably like back to back to back. I can't think of any running back like that I would like stick in there. You know what I mean? Like it's not like Najee, then this guy, and then like one of these other. Like no, I think these guys are back to back, and it's just a matter of. I mean, I don't know. It's very close. This is one of the reasons why I talk about why I don't like rankings. Because if you looked at somebody's rankings and they have Najee, Etienne, and Gibbs, and then let's say Gibbs smashes this year and Najee and Etienne are great. It's like, oh, you ranked Najee and Etienne over Gibbs. You don't know what you're doing. And it's like, yeah, I ranked them that way, but I had them very close. It's just, but rankings are very like this guy, then this guy, then this guy. You can't like say in a rankings like, hey, these guys are all very similar. If I have to rank them, this is the order I'm going in. But I think they're all, you know what I mean? Like you can't. I mean, I guess you can do tiers. Some people do tiers, but even then, it's like that's why I don't like rankings. But I think rankings are kind of overrated. But anyways.
Even then, within a tier, you'll have 3-4 guys, and you might feel almost the same about them, and you could interchange them. And so, in a draft, you might say, okay, if I'm in round 3 or whatever, there might be a league where you take Najee, and there might be the exact same position, exact same everything, but you try a different guy because you want to differentiate, right? Or maybe you think he fits your build a little bit better. Just because you're shooting for a little bit more ceiling as opposed to, floor, whatever it is. So I get what you're saying. I mean, in the end of the day, you want to kind of have exposure to a lot of the players you think could go off. I mean, that's the bottom line. This is why you have to play more than one league. You can't just play one fantasy league. I mean, come on, because then you're stuck with just that team and that's it. No. I can't even imagine a life where I only had one fantasy league for a sport.
It's probably great if you're dominating, and it's probably terrible if you draft a bunch of busts and injuries. Because then what do you do? It's like week 5, and you're like, what do I do now? It's over.
It's over. You give up. Exactly. You're done. I mean, and the more exposure you have to different players, doesn't that just keep you more invested on Sundays when you're watching? You're like, hey, I have a player on every single one of these teams. Like I want them all to score.
It does get tough when it's like later in the season or like playoff time.
Yeah.
And you have like maybe you have like a few teams are fighting for that last playoff spot. You're like, well, On one team, I need like T. Higgins to go off. But in another team, I'm playing against T. Higgins, and I need to win that game. So it's like, I don't know if I want T. Higgins to go. Like, I want him to go off just enough for me to win the one, but not so much that the other guy beats me. Like, it can get like that too, right? When it gets later in the season and you're like, I need to win this one. I need to win this to get in the playoff, or it's in the playoffs. I need to win to advance. It can get like that too, but it's all fun.
I'd rather have that than the other, where it's like, one guy goes off or one guy busts, and like you already know the outcome. You know what I mean? I'd rather have more skin in the game.
Yes.
All right, some wise advice here, by the way. If you don't like the stream, like, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, also remember flockfantasy.com/endgame. Check it out now. Have all sorts of stuff for you, not just the dynasty content I told you about, but rankings if you're into that kind of thing, bonus articles, bonus videos, etc.
Yeah, so Clayton pointing out Amari Cooper, a second-round pick now.
I don't think we'll see that too often. I think in most leagues, you'll see some of those running backs go first. You'll see some more of those young receivers go first. We've been seeing DK Metcalf go early, which I don't agree with, but it happens. Quarterbacks might go earlier in some home leagues, right or wrong. I don't know. I don't feel like that's bad. Look, how many wide receivers after Amari Cooper do you think you can safely say you feel better about? I think Watson and London might have more ceiling, but I'm not sure that they're better picks.
Yeah, I was going to say none, and we got a video coming out in a couple of days where I talk about that, but it's the first time I've seen him in the second round. Not saying I disagree with it. I'm just saying it's the first time I've seen him in the second round.
All right, so just because because I said Najee, he's like, I'm going to make sure I take him. But I wasn't going to go running back anyways, so there you go. I mean, I might have. But... you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I know it's like I don't have to take him in the third round, but I like DJ Moore better than the receivers left. I'm just going to take him there. Third round. I think late third is fine.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
Hold on, plug my computer. Okay.
All right, so let's first talk about this. Taz saying Watson over DK with Jordan Love and 50 question marks, and his mind is blown. How do we feel about that?
I should say Watson over DK with Romeo Dobbs there. What's up, Marquise? Yeah, Watson over DK with DK. Look, the jury's very much out on Jordan Love. Like we can't say we know. We don't. I think Jordan Love will be fine. I'm not super nervous about the Green Bay offense. How good was Aaron Rodgers last year? Really? Like, what was he? He was like a game manager. That's what he was. I don't think Jordan Love would be any worse for him.
Because you mentioned that he was like one of the worst deep ball passers in the league last year.
Exactly. I mean, I don't think Jordan Love is the issue.
Not only that, I mean, you could just flip this around and say DK over Watson with Geno Smith, a bunch of question marks and mind blown. Because DK Metcalf was not very good last year with Geno Smith. You got to hope Geno Smith, continues to be... I'm not going to say Geno Smith was good last year. Just hope he continues to be way better than we expected. And you got to hope Jackson Smith and Jigba barely sees the field this year, because if Jackson Smith and Jigba is playing a ton of snaps, now you go from DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett getting all the targets to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Jackson Smith and Jigba getting all the targets on an offense that doesn't throw the ball a lot. I can just tell you, right, look, I did not draft DK Metcalf anywhere last year. He had some nice games earlier on in the year, but he ended up being pretty bad, 13 fantasy points per game. I think it was his average. I'm not drafting DK Metcalf anywhere this year. It's fine. He's not going to win leagues. He's not going to be a top 10, top 5 wide receiver without like Tyler Lockett and JSN getting hurt or something like that. So, yeah, I'm good just not drafting DK at all, to be honest.
I think last year at one point I had DK on my like do not draft list. Like I think I called him a guy I'm just not that I wanted no part of, but he's a guy that at his ADP, I was like, I'm probably never gonna take him because someone will take him before I'm willing to take him.
Exactly.
I feel probably even stronger about that this year. And like Chris, if anybody, when he came out as a rookie, I was all over DK Metcalf. Like I had him as my number one dynasty receiver. And he had that 1,300-yard season, and he's just a stud. But it doesn't matter if you're not in the right system. If you don't get the target share, there's no way he gets more targets than he did last year. And last year he was fine, but he was not second round worthy last year necessarily. He's not going to be that this year. There's no way. And to me, this year, not even third round. I mean, I definitely take Watson. I'm going to take London over him. I'll take Ridley over him. I know someone, let's see, NMB. Where is it? Talking about Ridley. Look, I considered taking Ridley there before I took DJ Moore. And of course, you took Ridley. If Ridley was there on the way back, I would have taken him. I mean, where you took him, he's not really wide receiver one, though, is he?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Ridley drafted as a low end wide receiver one. He's usually more in that wide receiver two range, which I think is more than fair. There's certainly risk with Ridley, like he hasn't played in a year and a half. There's obviously there is risk, reacclimation, injury risk. A guy like that who hasn't played football, that's certainly a risk. I like Christian Kirk a lot. I think Christian Kirk's a great value. I agree with him on that. I don't know if Kirk will necessarily be the guy. I think Ridley will be technically the guy, but I still think Kirk will be very good. Yeah, I wouldn't draft Ridley as like a low end wide receiver one. That's way too much. But I mean, what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
18.
9, 10,
you took him as a wide
12,
receiver 18 in this draft, so that's mid wide receiver 2.
Yeah, that's mid low wide receiver 2, which I think is totally fine. He's one of those. He's one of these guys. Ridley, Ayuk, Keenan Allen, some other guys haven't been picked yet. I kind of feel they all have different levels of potential, and I'd want to get different exposures to them if I was doing tons of drafts. Yeah, but I don't think Ridley should be like. I would not be drafting Ridley as a low end wide receiver one. Although, look, if he starts to get camp buzz, it may happen. Not saying I'll do it, but I'm saying that's where his ADP may go.
But yeah, I don't think anybody's saying he's a wide receiver one, but where you took him is just about right. I'm taking him before Metcalf, which he went, which I think is
definitely
is right. Maybe Kirk's the guy. I mean, does it really matter 1A, 1B, like who has a few more receptions? It'll be pretty close. Like Kirk and Ridley. I think Ridley has a little bit more boom potential though. So I do see a case. So if he's saying if you think Kirk might be the guy, or maybe it's even, well then why don't you take Kirk around later? Okay, I buy that. I can see that. Yeah. Maybe I'd rather have Kirk around later, but Ridley, I think we got to say he does have a little bit more potential for those monster games.
Yeah. And then I think we should go over this one because now he has been drafted. And there is some potential Breece Hall news today. So Ronnie's saying he's shocked. Breece Hall is still there.
Well, I mean, look, he's up there saying, yeah, he'll be ready for week 1. That's not the point. So it doesn't matter if he's out there. Is how good is he going to be? I mean,
that's not really so. I know you've been busy today. That's not really the news. The news today is Michael Florio of Pro Football Talk said the Jets have significant interest in Dalvin Cook, more interest than people think, and they're like the front runners for Dalvin Cook right now. So I ask you, as a Breece Hall truther, coming off an ACL injury, which only one running back has ever adequately come back from that we've seen in year 1, how confident can you be about Breece Hall coming off ACL injury if his own team is trying to sign Dalvin Cook? Look, there's no guarantee they will. We don't know. They may not. But the fact that they are the front runner and very interested in him, that's enough. That's not enough. That's not like if they felt like Breece Hall was going to be 100% no problem this year, full go, would they really be willing to shell out $10 million or whatever Dalvin Cook wants. Like, look, I used to draft the ACL guys. I used to give them the benefit of the doubt. But we're talking about a guy who we've only seen for 5 games and only 2. And look, I loved Breece Hall last year. Go look at our videos. We have a video where the thumbnail is draft him, you win, and it's Breece Hall with the Jets cap. And it's me telling you that you're way too low on Breece Hall. So this is coming from the biggest Breece Hall truther last year. We only saw him in 5 games, and he was only great for 2 of those games. And one of those games is because he caught 10 passes. It's not like he went out there and ran for 200 yards or something, right? And now we're propping this guy up like he's the greatest running back in the NFL. He's coming off an ACL tear. If you avoid Breece Hall this year, you'll probably be okay.
I agree with that. I mean, look, with the Jets thing. Oh, hold on. My turn.
Yeah, right when it's your turn.
Right when it's my turn. Okay, I'm going to get my running back and keep going. Dalvin Cook, it's like, I'm going to wait and see. Wait for something to actually happen before we see what happens. I mean, the fact that the Jets are looking, I mean, it makes sense. You got to think the Jets, this is not a team that is still on the rebuild. They signed Aaron Rodgers. What does that tell you? Getting Aaron Rodgers is a pretty clear sign. They want to win right now, only now, and they're not worried about developing players and this and that. Whatever. Like, they just want to try to actually go deep in the playoffs, right? Aaron Rodgers is not going to be around that long. So if signing a guy like Dalvin Cook or someone else is going to help them, and that was the quote, right? That's what they keep saying. Oh, anybody who wants to help us win a Super Bowl. Like, whether it's realistic or not, whether you think the Jets have any remote shot of winning the Super Bowl, that's what they're trying to talk themselves into, right? We're going for a Super Bowl. So Breece Hall is not going to get as many touches that as required to be an RB1, like, at all. RB1, forget. I'm sorry. That's off the table. RB2, maybe. But the maybe would be if they don't sign Dalvin Cook, right?
Yeah. And the risk is, there's 2 risks here. The biggest risk, hold on, it's my pick. And look, there's always risk with players. So, like, there's always risk with everybody. Hold on. Do I like any of these running backs enough? I don't think so. So the biggest risk is that, like we saw with Saquon a couple years ago, first year back from ACL, he's just not the same guy. 2 years ago, Saquon Barkley looked like a shell of himself. And I know people are going to say, oh, the foot injury. Okay, he was still playing, like, it was 12 weeks, like 3 months after the foot injury. He should be fully healthy by then. And he still was losing snaps to Devontae Booker. He was still very bad. He was not very good. What did we see last year? Dude looked awesome. Looked back to 100%. And this is what we see with ACL guys, especially running backs, because it's so hard. Like, ACL tears for running backs is such a tough recovery because of what they have to do as a running back. They don't just get the ball and run straight. They have to cut, they have to plant, they have to move, they have to do a lot of things. It's very hard coming back from ACL. The other risk is, like we saw with Saquon, like we've seen with guys, Dalvin Cook when they first came back from ACL, and many others, soft tissue injuries on the other side because their body is out of line because they just had this traumatic thing happen to their knee and they end up with soft tissue injuries to the other leg, a hamstring or whatever it might be, and then they miss more games. So there's like a double risk with Breece Hall here. And again, I loved Breece Hall last year. I was like telling everybody, you're too low on Breece Hall. But let's be realistic. He played 5 games. It wasn't like he was like from week 1, he was just dominating. Yes, he probably would have been awesome last year, but we don't know that for sure. And we're propping this guy up like he's just, like at least Saquon, a guy like Saquon, we're like, yeah, we know this guy is awesome. We've seen him when he's healthy. He is absolutely awesome. We've kind of seen that from Breece Hall.
Yeah. The situation has to be right. Last year, it was good. It was better than people thought. Everyone was thinking, oh, Michael Carter's there. Like, oh, come on. Yeah. You're telling them, no, Breece Hall can be the guy. He can be dominant, and he was. This year, if they sign Dalvin Cook and, they have the kind of offense we think they're going to have where they actually can pass it a little bit more because they have a quarterback who's competent, it's not the same. It's just not going to be the same. So then when we're not saying don't draft Breece Hall ever, just saying he's not shocked that he was still there where he was there.
Yeah, I actually think where he went tonight is great value if they don't sign Dalvin Cook.
Right.
If they sign Dalvin Cook, I am not drafting Breece Hall. Like, I don't know how you can draft Breece Hall coming off ACL if they also sign Dalvin Cook. Like, that's a clear sign that, like, he's not. Exactly. Like, they don't believe Breece Hall is going to be effective this year. But right now, where he went, I think is great value. I'm fine with him there. But if they sign Dalvin Cook, not drafting him at all.
I have another value, Roberto, jumping all over Aaron Jones here, round 6.4. Again, it's never personal. Look, when he first came into the league, I was one of those guys who was all over Aaron Jones because I had seen him play in person. He was, super athletic, great player. But come on, I think it's clear his best days are behind him. He'll be fine this year, but low-end RB2 is probably his ceiling, isn't it?
Yeah, because what was he last year? He averaged 14 points per game, which is like, and look, he had that every year. Aaron Jones in like week 2 against Chicago has a huge game. Like every year. Let me look. Actually, it's actually kind of funny. Let me pull it up.
He pads his stats.
Yeah. So last year, week 2 against Chicago had 32 fantasy points. 2021, week 2, okay, it was Detroit, but it was week 2, 41 fantasy points. In 2020, it was also Detroit, 45 fantasy points. It's crazy. Like this guy, in 2019, it was Minnesota, 25. It's like week 2, this guy goes off every year. But if you take out that 32-point game, I know it's like, oh, but he did have the 32-point game. It's like, okay, so one week he was awesome. You look at his other games, 10 points, 5 points, 14, 10, 7. He had a 28er, 19, 6, 23, 14, 18, 10, 25, 13, 7. He was mostly pretty bad last year. Because remember, I think this is one thing people don't really think about when they talk about players. Fantasy football is a game you play for 1 week against one person. And you do that for 17 straight weeks. It's not a game where you go at the end of the season and say, okay, how many points did this guy score? No, you get whatever points they scored that week. And that's all, you know what I mean? So him giving you like 1 or 2 huge games and then the rest RB3, RB4 games is in no way helping your team over the course of the season. It looks good at the end of the season because he didn't get hurt and a lot of running backs got hurt, but he was mostly bad last year and now he's older, has more wear and tear. Who knows what the offense is going to look like? I'm not touching Aaron Jones this year unless he falls like really, really far.
Yeah. I think he's fine. I might be a little low for Aaron Jones. I think he'll still be serviceable. Where he's going is just fine.
But the thing about serviceable is serviceable doesn't win you fantasy matchups. It doesn't win you championships. I'd rather take guys like Madison, Sanders, White, Pacheco, Gibson, Monty, Connor, like guys that can be better than serviceable. Serviceable doesn't do anything for your fantasy team.
Yeah, no, you want more than serviceable. Now this is an end game type move, right? This is thinking ahead, getting ahead of the game, trading away after the monster game to get Jamar Chase. I'm not sure who was trading away Jamar Chase, but yeah, that's how you do it.
Yes, that's how you do it. And look, Aaron Jones will probably score 40 points in week 2 this year or something. Trade him. Trade him again.
Exactly.
Now, this I agree with. This is a good point by Katz. Those huge games winning weeks by themselves, yes. But when you only get like 1 or 2, it's like, okay, that's great. But then the rest of the time, they're bad. Like, you want and look, if you get 1 or 2 huge games from like your 11th round pick, 10th round pick, that's great. That's fantastic. But for a guy who you're drafting as like a starting player, like your RB2 or your flex, you don't want a guy who gives you 1 or 2 big games and the rest of the time he's giving you like 10, 7, 11, and he's like not helping you at all. Like, you want a guy in that range who can give you more. And I just don't. And we also have to factor in he's at the age where running backs start to decline. He's past that age, to be honest. He's at the touch mark where running backs start to decline. It's hard to see Aaron Jones being better this year than he was last year. honestly.
Yeah, that's a good point because and look, yeah, it's true. You want those spike weeks, those big weeks. A guy like Amari Cooper, we talked about earlier. So like, oh, he disappears sometimes. Yeah, that's fine. But when he shows up, he shows up. He has those big weeks. That's a lot of fantasy football players. So yeah, I get that, but it's just got to know how high the ceiling is for those guys. Roberto, if you want to know, you actually did snipe me on the Pickens pick. I was about to take George Pickens.
I mean, I'm surprised you're going to go Pickens over Flowers.
I don't know, man. Look, okay, I get the whole thing of Pickens is kind of a one-trick pony. Like he does the contested catches, right? He has those deep balls, but he's also he's really good at what he does as far as technician. I know Pickett is more the issue. Like, how aggressive is that offense going to be? How often are they even going to throw it down the field? But I think that there's enough hope that Pickens can make those big plays, turn in some big games. I'd rather take a chance on him. I do like Flowers. I mean, I like Flowers a lot. All right, it's my turn. And it's too early. All right. Go tight end.
I thought about it, but there's still some tight ends I like. Man, I did not realize there were so many Aaron Jones truthers out there. So Ronnie's saying, why take Swift over Aaron Jones? So the situation is worse, which I'm not sure about. With better competition around him, maybe. I mean, maybe Penny is better than Dillon if Penny can actually stay healthy for more than 4 or 5 games. And the QB taking touchdowns, that's definitely partly true. At least the volume will be there for Jones, which I'm not sure about that either. So what's your feel about Swift and Jones?
Okay. I mean, that's a fair question because I took Swift and then the very next pick, Jones. Like, Jones was there for me. All right. As far as situation, you can't tell me that being on Green Bay's offense is better than being on the Eagles' offense. There's no way. Eagles have the best offensive line. They have pretty much the best offense in the NFC because there's no way the situation is better. Competition, Rashad Penny, who's is going to start the season on IR probably. And if he doesn't, he'll land on IR after 2.5 weeks. Okay, no. I'm not worried about competition in Philadelphia. They brought Swift in for a reason. He's going to take Miles Sanders' place. Miles Sanders was pretty good last year for fantasy. I have to say, he's pretty good. Even if Swift at a minimum just replaces Miles Sanders' numbers, I'm happy for him to do that. And I think DeAndre Swift is better than Miles Sanders. Aaron Jones' situation is exactly the same as it has been, except instead of a future Hall of Fame quarterback, they have Jordan Love, who will – I like Jordan Love. I think he's fine. But I don't think it makes the offense better, right? I think their offense will be kind of the same. So I think Aaron Jones will be kind of the same, which is fine. Like, Aaron Jones is fine as a low-end RB2. I think Swift has – at his potential upside, potential. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I would rather take a shot on the potential that he has a breakthrough season in top 10 running back, right? He has that potential because he's a stud. He just can't stay healthy, and Dan Campbell hates him, right? So now he's in Philadelphia. I think he's got that potential.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, sure, Swift could bust again. I mean, obviously, he could bust again. He could get hurt, whatever. But you can't tell me that Aaron Jones has a higher ceiling than Swift. Like, Swift has a way higher potential in one of the best offenses behind one of the best offensive lines. The guy was one of the most efficient running backs last year. Like, I don't think people realize it because they don't look at those kind of numbers. But I think he was like second in yards per touch among all running backs like last year. I'll check, but he's hyper efficient. And it's like Aaron Jones, if Aaron Jones does exactly what he did last year, he doesn't make your team better. Like, you don't get to the end of the season, win your fantasy championship, and say Aaron Jones was one of the catalysts to me winning my championship this year. Yeah. He just doesn't. He's fine, like you said, but he's just not. Now, Swift could bust, and you could be like, oh, why did I draft Swift? But what if he has a Miles Sanders year, but even better because he's more efficient? And now he actually is a catalyst for you winning a championship. Like Swift could actually be a catalyst. Like, yes, he can bust. I get it. I'm not saying like he's bust proof. Like he can be a catalyst for your fantasy championship. So let me look. So Swift last year was by the way, he was number 3 in fantasy points per opportunity last year. Everybody's league winner last year, or last year's league winner, Josh Jacobs, was 30th in fantasy points per opportunity. So he was significantly better there. He was, where is it? Where is like yards? Okay, he was second in yards created per touch. That is 100% a running back stat. That is not, oh, he had a wide open hole and he ran through it. That is, he created those yards. He was second among all running backs, yards created per touch. He's a very good running back. He just needs the opportunity. Will he get it in Philadelphia? Maybe, maybe not. But if he does, he can absolutely win your league. Whereas no matter what happens with Aaron Jones this year, he's probably just going to be at best, like you said. He's going to be fine. And you're not going to look back and say that Aaron Jones pick won me my fantasy championship.
Right.
That's the difference to me. It's like I want guys who I can look back and say that. If I miss, I miss. Okay. Oh, well, not a big deal. I'll figure it out. Whatever, waiver wire. Maybe I won't win my championship this year. It's fine. Or in that league, it's fine. But I want guys to have that potential.
Yeah, not to get, cheeky or anything, but that's why we, call it the end game. You have to look at the end. Like, what work backwards? Are you going to win because you took the RB2 that averaged 12 points per game versus 11 and a half? Or because you got the 6th round pick that wound up being a superstar versus the guy who averaged 11 and a half points per game? Like, you have to shoot for the upside. You have to go for the swing for the fences. Okay. You just want to do that. Like I said, at this point, probably not many guys in the middle rounds are going to wind up really making the difference for your team. Try to find that one guy. Just go for the one guy, right? Playing it safe is not going to win you your league. Keith, for the Aaron Jones truthers, I think this is your deal. Look, I don't mind. Again, this is where another thing. Well, I'll say this. The talk about the Ridley versus Kirk thing. Like, I'm probably taking Kirk a round or 2 later more often than I'm taking Ridley. I don't mind taking Dylan a round or 2. He's going how many rounds later usually than Aaron Jones? I think his numbers could be comparable.
Yeah, and actually this is a good point. I don't think people realize, like, we'll say like, okay, from week 10 on, because obviously Aaron Jones came out early in that week 9 game. From week 10 till the end till the last playoff game, he played 30%, 30%, 36%, 51%, 33%, 40%, 56%, 35%, 40% of the snaps. He wasn't even like really the number one. Like, he wasn't even getting half the snaps last year. So I don't think it's out of the question that AJ Dillon gets more of the snaps this year. He's younger. If they're going to actually commit to the run more, Dillon is more of a guy you want pound. He's built to take the pounding. So I just think, like, again, though, okay, maybe Swift isn't your thing. You're like, I'm not touching Swift. Fine, that's fine. Because again, if Aaron Jones does exactly what he did last year, you're not going to look back and think Aaron Jones was such a huge part of me winning the fantasy championship. Take a different running back that has more upside then. It doesn't have to be Swift. It could be Rachaad White, Miles Sanders, whoever, Pacheco, whatever. Just start naming those guys. You know what I mean? Like, the point being, the thing with a lot of people just think like, well, Aaron Jones is fine value here, but he's really not. He's really not. Like, yeah, he may not bust, but he's also not going to move the needle for your team at all. So it's almost like, what's the point? And I think this is like a more of a deeper strategy conversation than a player conversation. And yes, I need to make a pick.
Exactly.
And I need to make a pick here. So let me look real quick and make a pick.
Yes, that's exactly it. We get hung up on the player itself. It's not about the player. Like, I like Aaron Jones. He's a good player. He's always been a good player, and he'll be fine. He'll probably put up numbers comparable to last year's 6th round. Good value for him. Yeah, sure, it's fine. But I'd rather take a shot on a guy who I think could, have that upside. And so Dylan, again, is probably better value than Jones because his ceiling could be as high, if not higher, and you're getting better value by taking him later. And I did mention this, talk about the next year's Josh Jacobs, AJ Dillon playing for a contract. So he wants that bag.
Yeah, I think, yeah, like, again, it just comes down more to like, you're not going to look back and say Aaron Jones was a difference maker for my team. Will Aaron Jones potentially be fine for your team? Sure. But there's lots of guys that are fine for your team. You can find guys that are fine for your team off the waiver wire throughout the season if you really want to. If you really work at it and work hard enough. So, whether it's Swift or somebody else or whoever, like, I'd rather just shoot for guys that have, like, I'd honestly, if we want to talk about a guy, James Conner, like, I would miles take James Conner over Aaron Jones. James Conner is the unquestioned workhorse in Arizona. The only guy behind him is Keontae Ingram. He catches passes. He scores touchdowns. He puts up RB1 weeks. You know what I mean? Like he's a guy who, like, James Conner down the stretch last year was helping people win fantasy championships. Like, I'd much rather have a guy like James Conner than Aaron Jones. Like, they might finish the same or whatever, but James Conner has a path to more upside to me than Aaron Jones.
Volume always reigns supreme. And also, of course, context matters, team context, which, maybe, okay, what do you think of this? Which, by the way, I know this is a familiar name to you. Another Mangano in the house.
This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Get him out of here.
Get out of here.
Get out of here with this. So I'll say, like, okay, you're right. Like, last year he did not get the money carries, unfortunately. But you got to also remember he's now, and again, if Swift isn't your guy, that's fine. Like, totally fine with that. Like, I'm not going to sit here and, like, be like, no, you're wrong. It's Swift. Like, we're talking about guys going in round 6, round 7. They're going in this round for a reason, because we don't feel great about them, right? Like, there's a reason why Christian McCaffrey goes in the first round and Swift and Aaron Jones go in the 6th or 7th. But you got to also understand he's now with Philadelphia. They traded a 4th-round pick for him. Look, in today's NFL, a 4th-round pick for a running back is a pretty high price to pay. Like, you're not just, like, running backs don't get traded for that. So, yes, they're obviously, I think maybe Ronnie or Cap said something about Jalen Hurts. Yeah, Jalen Hurts probably going to vulture a lot of touchdowns, but I think there's the possibility that he gets some money carries this year is there. Will he not? I don't know. But again, I'm shooting for the guy who could potentially be a catalyst to my team winning a championship versus the guy who's going to be like, oh yeah, I had Aaron Jones on that team. I totally forgot. You know what I mean? Like, he's not killing your team, but he's also not helping your team.
Exactly. And so Clayton on the Swift side saying, I will draft him again, 8th round. Yeah, I mean, if you can get him 8th round, that's beyond a steal. That's ridiculous. Talent, exactly, for an RB1 type season, if he stays healthy, worth the risk. Exactly. That's exactly what we're saying. The worst thing that happens is he's your RB2, and so you just got to replace your RB2. Which, look, it's not as bad as it sounds. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's somebody starting running back. It's a lot easier to replace a running back than it is another position.
Yeah, running back 2s are on the waiver wire. Like, once you get to like week 4, week 5, and those first running backs start dropping like flies, there's running back 2s every week. Like, every week you can find serviceable RB2s, honestly.
I mean, here's the other thing is, no matter who you draft, it really doesn't. You have to work the waiver wire anyways.
Yeah.
Guys will get hurt. Guys will bust. Guys will come out of nowhere. You have to work the waiver wire. That's non-negotiable. You will not win your league if you don't make a waiver wire move all year. Guaranteed.
Yeah, unless you just draft. There was only one year where I've ever drafted a team where I thought, oh my gosh, I'm gonna like just win with my entire draft team. And then first round of the playoffs, well, it was technically the second round of playoffs because I had the bye week because I lost like one game all year. I think it was ridiculous. I had like Andrew Luck, Melvin Gordon when he was a monster, Adam Thielen when he was a monster. My team was and I just drafted this team. It was ridiculous. And then in that first playoff game, Andrew Luck got like 6, Melvin Gordon got hurt. And I lost.
Exactly.
I was like, finally, I finally did it. I finally have a team where I'm going to do nothing all year, make like hardly any waiver claims, run all over the league, and then week 15, it all fell apart.
And I can tell you a few years ago, there was a team I won a championship with where I think one of the starters on my team was somebody I drafted. Everybody else was a waiver wire trade. Everybody else, guys I picked up like the week or 2 weeks before, and I filled them in and it worked. So, that's not ideal. You don't want to have to do that, but I'm just saying you have to work the waiver wire.
Yeah, this is the real question here. Why are we arguing over late running backs?
That is why we're on here. That's exactly the purpose of this. This is what we do. And in a second, we're about to start a deep discussion on the value of Raheem Mostert. No.
Well, that's the other rumor, right? Is that Dalvin Cook might go to Miami, which would obviously kill Mostert, Wilson, and Shane.
I would wreck everything. Then what do you do with a Shane? He still has value. Don't draft him. I mean, are we sure Dalvin Cook's going to hold up for a season? These shoulder injuries.
Well, that is true. Dalvin Cook is also at the Dalvin Cook definitely at the point where we should be expecting declines. We should be expecting. I mean, he was already at that point last year, and I tried to warn everybody, and nobody wanted to hear it because he's Dalvin Cook. But he's definitely at that point now where it's like we've almost 100% seen his best season for sure. For sure, we've seen his best season. Chances are he won't be even as good as he was last year.
Yeah, I mean it's just kind of a sad reality. Running backs just don't last that long. As good as they are, their peak and their prime, the end comes quickly.
Yeah, it's funny you said about a team. I actually had a team, and I remember it because we had this league at my gym. We do it every year, $100 buy-in league, all the trainers. And it was the same guys every year. And I was going for my third straight title. And literally at the end of the year, not even a player on my bench. I didn't have a single player I drafted that year, not even on my bench. It was all trades and waiver wire moves. And I remember one of the guys in the league is like, that shouldn't even be allowed. You shouldn't be allowed to be the champion if you don't have a single guy you drafted. I'm like, that's how you win a fantasy.
I mean, I kind of think it's the other way around. If you don't make moves and you just go with who you drafted, you shouldn't be allowed to win because it means you weren't active.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're going to do this. We're going to go deep sleep. Let's do this. Deep sleepers for the last round. It's the last round. It's Thursday.
Okay.
I mean, it's only 12 rounds, but yeah. Now,
all right.
Let's clarify. When you say deep sleepers, we're going to stick to active NFL players, right? I don't want to see Tom Brady or Ted Ginn or Aaron Hernandez or any of that stuff. Not Zach Wilson. It's like actual sleepers.
All right. I got some.
Deep sleep. Okay. Don't scroll too far down. You're going to see guys who played in like the 80s and 90s who are like on the Tecmo Bowl.
I don't know. I mean, how deep are we going? Well, are we going by sleeper ADP?
Well, I mean, sleeper is a relative term. So,
guys who just never get drafted in these things.
CJ Ham's still playing? Is he still in the league?
That's pretty deep. Do I have a tight end? Okay, I have a tight end.
Yeah, I got to see if my team is actually decent first. Yeah, Sky Moore is still there. I almost took Sky Moore last round.
Yeah, it's good value on Sky Moore. I know who mine are, unless somebody takes them, but.
All right.
All right, here's your first one.
Mechie.
Okay. Yep, that's a good one. I'm going to go here.
Yeah.
I think he's a deep sleeper.
Yeah. No, now we got to go. This is the. All right. You took Zeus. Okay, but this isn't even the last round. Now is the last round. Now is your deep sleeper.
Okay. All right. I don't even know if I've talked. I think I've talked about this guy once.
All right.
Although I actually like somebody else on the same team more, who hasn't been picked yet, but he's not. That's not deep enough. I'll go with him. Where is he?
Okay. Now I feel like I have to go with the guy I haven't drafted. There. All right. Puka. Who's it that's on Puka? Is it Nate? Who is it that's always talking about Puka?
Yeah. I actually like Van Jefferson a lot, but I don't know if he's deep enough.
This is my deep sleeper from last year, so I'm just pulling a repeat here.
Oh, Kyle Phillips. Okay.
Could be wide receiver 2. Who knows? In Tennessee.
Wide receiver 2 on a team that's going to score 5 touchdowns all year. And they're all
favorite for slot role.
Yeah.
If it not for injury, he would have been a stud last year.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if Rondale Moore is a deep sleeper, but I actually like Rondale Moore.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's definitely worth a flyer. I mean, Hopkins gone. I don't think they're going to trade Hollywood Brown. It's possible.
No. I mean, if they trade Hollywood Brown, it's even better for Rondale Moore. He's just going to get peppered with targets. I mean, he's not going to – he'll be one of those guys who'll catch like 7 passes for, 60 yards. But – or 10 passes, one of those like 10 passes for 75 yards guys. And you're like, I got 17 and a half PPR points.
I mean, it's if it's Clayton Tune at quarterback or Colt McCoy, how many short 2-yard, 5-yard passes are we going to see? Right? It's basically going to be the whole offense. They're not throwing it down the field.
Well, this may surprise you. I filmed a video today. I may be coming around on a quarterback.
Coming around on a quarterback. Okay.
For this year. In redraft even.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Looks like we both sniped some people on our last round sleeper picks. Snipe for Mechie and Clayton really wanted Zamir.
Well, I did. It's kind of interesting. I mean, I always hate coming on here and talking about videos I just filmed because I don't want to ruin the video. But there's a lot of parallels between 2018 Steelers with Le'Veon Bell and James Conner and the 2023 Raiders with Josh Jacobs and Zamir White.
I'm all over Zamir White. He just needs a shot, right? He just needs a shot. Just give him the ball. Why didn't they give him the ball last year? Okay, we're done. That is 12 rounds in the books, but we're not done. We're going to go over each team and give our thoughts, talk about the build. This is a redraft league. This is 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex, full PPR. Let's start with turned up Taz at the 1 spot, Justin Jefferson, Pat Mahomes. I feel like we've seen that pairing a couple of times, haven't we, at the turn?
Yeah, it seems pretty common at the 1-2 spot there or whatever, the 2-3 turn. Yeah.
I mean, I can't argue against it. You got the top receiver, top quarterback. Then you went Pollard, McLaurin, Akers, JSN, and then Gibson, Penny, Elijah Moore, Odell Beckham, Waller, and Rice.
I mean, I gotta say, I don't even mind that you went Mahomes so early. You got Jefferson, McLaurin, Pollard, and Akers. So I like your wide receivers. I mean, McLaurin's fine as a wide receiver too, I guess. But I like your running backs a lot. Obviously, you got Mahomes, you got Jefferson. I think between JSN and Gibson, and maybe even Odell early in the year, maybe Elijah Moore, Penny if he can stay healthy, like you should have a viable flex option. I think Waller there. I'm not big on Waller this year, but I think at the 111, that's fair value, or at the 11-1, I mean, that's fair value. And then Rashi Rice, it's fine. You can always drop him. Not a big deal. So I think I like this team. I like it.
It's pretty solid. I don't love some of the last few picks. Like, I'm just personally not probably ever drafting Rice, Waller, or Beckham. Maybe not Penny, but this is only 2 receivers and a flex. I think your starting lineup is really good.
Yeah.
You didn't screw it up. You had the number 1 pick, and that's all you can ask for. So, pretty good. Bust or boom. Went with Chase, Chubb, Henry, Debo, Hopkins, Pitts, Pacheco, Evans, Harris, Gallup, Prescott, and Izzy.
I mean, I'll say there's a lot of guys in this team that I'm not drafting too much of, but I think you got them at good value. Like I'm not super high on Debo, but I think at the end of the 4th round, that's fine. I'm not super high on Hopkins, but I think in the 5th round, it's fine. I like the Pitts pick a lot. Pacheco good. Not really big on Evans this year, but in the 8th round, I guess it's okay. I like the Dak pick late. That's good. Dak Gallup stack, not bad. If Chubb and Henry, if those guys stay healthy and do what they should do, your running back should be fine. I think your wide receivers are good enough. With Dak and Pitts, I mean, I think again another team that I don't necessarily love all the players, but I think when you look at where you got them, it's a good team.
Yeah, I think it's pretty well constructed. Good value on Dak. Pretty good spot. Kind of surprising you got Pitts that late, actually. I would prefer like Kirk or Deontay instead of DeAndre Hopkins, but no complaints there at your flex. I mean, this is a very, very high floor team. And then NMB went with a 3 tonight. Got Kupp, Amari Cooper in round 2, Jalen Hurts, Kenneth Walker, Christian Kirk, Rashad White, Dotson, Ashane, Javonte, Rashid Shaheed, McKinnon, and then Dulcich is the tight end.
I like that last round Dulcich pick. I like a lot of these picks, honestly. I mean, Kupp and Cooper as your wide receivers, that's very good. Walker, Rashad White should be good enough at running back. You got Kirk, Dotson, maybe Shane at flex. I don't see it for Javonte this year coming off the brutal knee injury, but we'll see. I like the Shaheed pick. McKinnon fine there. Again, I guess another team I like. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to find things to not like. It's, when you only are in these 2-2-1 type of leagues, but I like a lot of these picks.
This is one of those teams, I think, on paper, when you compare it to the rest of the rosters, you'd be like, oh, yeah, I mean, fine, but it doesn't stand out. But I think this team has a lot more upside than the first couple. I like the picks because there's more potential here. I think this team could surprise and be really good. If Rashad White comes through, Shane is serviceable. So I do like this team. All right, fantasy sleeper, Ty Hill, Higgins, Jacobs and Dobbins, Herbert, Dalvin Cook, Dallas Goedert, Charbonnet, and then Tony, Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs for a pair of Packers, and then Zay Jones.
Yeah, so this is, I mean, obviously if Jacobs is playing this year, getting him at the 3-4 is tremendous value. So for your sake, hopefully Jacobs plays. I mean, you got Tyreek and T, so that's very good at wide receiver. Herbert and Goddard, that's good at quarterback and tight end. If Jacobs plays this year, then I think your running backs are really strong with Jacobs and Dobbins. You got Cook and Charbonnet backing them up. Took some shots on wide receivers late. I kind of like the Reed Dobbs stack there. So you hope one of them breaks away as a wide receiver too. So again, I mean, I think it really comes down to Jacobs. If Jacobs is playing, this team will be really strong. If he holds out, then obviously gonna have some issues.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for waiting so long on the third receiver, who typically you would want to flex, that would be risky. But man, you got Tony at a really good price there, and then you got Dobbs at a really good value. So I think you actually played it right. This team took some chances. I mean, it's easy to say now, it could pay off. Who knows? Might blow up, but I think you took some smart chances.
Yeah.
Cat Stafford. Let's see if this team was meowing. No, I couldn't do it.
Oh,
All right.
man.
CMC, Devontae Adams, Mark Andrews in the third round, Etienne, Judy Lockett, David Montgomery, Deshaun Watson, Rashad Bateman, Elijah Mitchell, Juju, and Marvin Jones.
Deep sleeper, Marvin Jones.
I like Marvin Jones, actually.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, CMC, Adams there, great value. I'm not even that high on Adams, but man, at the 2.8, I'll take a chance on Adams there. I like Andrews in the third. I think that's very good value on Etienne. Judy and Lockett, fine there. Maybe wide receiver, outside of Adams, maybe lacking a little upside. But I like the Deshaun pick a lot. I like the Monty pick a lot. So running back, pretty solid. Bateman, Marvin Jones, maybe. Juju, probably not. Mitchell, I mean, you got your backup for CMC. So I don't know if it's as strong as the last two teams necessarily, but I think it's definitely solid.
Yeah, I feel like it keeps saying this. Andrews in round 3 to me, I don't feel like it. Again, like I can see Andrews finishing as the tight end too. I can see that. But I don't feel like him being your third round pick is going to help you win your league. You know what I mean? I don't know. So I think it's fine. Judy is okay. I don't love all the players individually in this roster. You got some good values, but then I think some of them feel a little reachy to me. But we'll see how it turns out. And Clayton, I totally tried to steal your joke, but I totally failed and flopped. If it makes you feel better. A meowsing, is that what it's supposed to say? Okay.
I have no idea.
All right, let's move on. Keith took Bijan. Never scared to take Bijan in the first round. Then he went receiver for 4 straight. Devontae Smith, Christian Watson, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin. Then Hawk in round 6. Yeah. Connor, Dylan, Herbert, Jameson Williams, Chase Brown, and Tua, who does not count as a deep sleeper. He's called a late round league winner. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I love this start. I'm not even super high on Godwin, but as your wide receiver 4 in the 5th round, that's fine. Look, I'm also not super high on Hawkinson, but in round 6, that's great value. I can't complain about that. I think between your 4 running backs, like Connor should be serviceable as an RB2. I do think Dylan gets more work than people think. We'll see if it's Herbert in the Bears backfield, but you only need one of those guys. And like we said, RB2 is like the least important position in fantasy. You can find RB2s on waiver wire almost every week, especially down the stretch. They're on there almost every week. Jameson worth a shot for this lineup because, I mean, you got 4 good wide receivers and 2 last round. Nothing wrong with that. So definitely a strong team.
Yeah, I mean, kids, if you want to know how to do anchor RB and pull it off, this is the way you do it. You get some really solid shots at RB2, and there you go. You could definitely have one of those guys go off. I was a little surprised, actually, being that as Keith, that he took Khalil Herbert there in round 9 and left me Kendre Miller. I thought he would take Miller. He's a big Miller guy too, isn't he?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I think so. I'm surprised he didn't take Miller. But he is he's defending Mark Andrews in round 3. Look, yeah, he'll get TDs, but I don't want to depend on TDs. Look, again, I just said, like, I think Mark Andrews could finish as a top 3 tight end this year. I just don't know if I love taking him in round 3 when there's still a stud receiver left. You know what I mean? But you didn't take him, so that's okay. All right, Anthony went with A.J. Brown, Ramondre, Josh Allen, Breece Hall. Got lots of airtime today. Deontay Johnson, Miles Sanders, Jordan Addison, Brandon Cooks, Cortland Sutton, Dalton Kincaid, Michael Thomas, we have a believer, and Jalen Hyatt.
I'm pretty sure Anthony's a Michael Thomas believer for sure. Early for Ramondre, but I don't hate it. I mean, as long as they don't sign Dalvin Cook, he should be great. Josh Allen there is fine. Talked about Breece Hall. I think that's good value for him. I like the Deontay Johnson bounce back with some touchdowns this year. Again, I'm fine taking shots on Miles Sanders. He's got a clear path to the workhorse role in Carolina. And then I love how you finish out these wide receivers. I love Addison this year. He might end up being your wide receiver 2 over Deontay, honestly. Cook's worth a shot there. Sutton worth a shot there. MT, fine. Hyatt, fine. I think the only pick I don't like is the Kincaid pick. I just think I'd rather have a tight end. Like, I'd honestly rather have Darren Waller than Kincaid. And I'm not even that high on Darren Waller just because when's the last time we saw a rookie tight end actually be a fantasy contributor year one? It just almost never happens. And Kincaid is not, I don't think, a good enough talent. Not that I don't like Kincaid, not that I don't think he'll be good long term. I'd honestly rather see Darren Waller, who I'm not even super high on, but at least Darren Waller we know will probably be more involved. I just worry about Kincaid. And he's saying he took him for the stack. I don't worry about stacking in redraft. I'd rather have a tight end I feel like is going to give me more points. Now, it's tight end. You could drop him. You can stream. It's fine. But I'm just saying that's probably the only pick I don't like. So the only pick I don't like is a tight end. You're probably doing pretty well.
Yeah, agree with everything you said. Again, not to beat the Breece Hall point to death. If that pick had been a wide receiver, and if you're left with Miles Sanders as your RB2, that's fine. I think this team would have been even better, but still pretty good overall. And then Clayton went with CeeDee Lamb, Jonathan Taylor, Drake London, Brandon Ayuk, Trevor Lawrence, Madison is the RB2, Hollywood, P. Ryan, Njoku, Mingo, Moore, and Tank.
Yeah, that's great value. JT at the 2.5. That's really good. Lamb, JT, London, Ayuk. I like that. T-Lock, good there. Again, I think we're like Madison, fine here. At least he has the potential. I'm not a big Madison guy, but at least he has the potential. I like that Hollywood pick is really good value there. I think people are a little too low on him. I like the P. Ryan pick. Love the Njoku pick. I like those last three upside shots. Yeah, I think I like every one of these picks.
Great job getting value. JT at the 2.5. London we've seen go in the end of the second round lately to get him at the 3.8. That's great value. So very smart picks. And let's say we will about Madison getting the starting running back for the Vikings in round 6. That's great too. So very well played. I'll say well played. And then we got Roberto. I don't know. So we got to gauge this one on the spicy meter. How aggressive was he? Kelsey in round 1, of course. Olave, good job. Najee, Gibbs, Traylon Burks, Aaron Jones, Pickens, Quentin Johnson, Anthony Richardson, a quarterback, and not just a quarterback, but round 9 quarterback. I mean, you feel that? I know you talking about, that's a guy you want to take late. Do you think that's too early?
Probably, yeah. I'd still take Dak over him. I think Dak's going to be great this year. I think people are discounting what this Cowboys offense is going to look like this year. This West Coast system, I think he's going to cut down on the turnovers. His receivers are going to give him a lot more yards after catch. Last year, everything was had to be through the air, down the field. This year, it's going to be more like get the ball in CD's hands, Cooks' hands, Gallup's hands, let them do their thing. But I know this is going to pain you. I would take Richardson over Tua just for that massive upside.
Yeah, and again, it's not the player, it's just the value. So Richardson, if you're going to take him as your starting quarterback, totally fine, but you probably could have waited. Okay, so look, we spent a lot of time talking about Najee Gibbs and Aaron Jones. Overall, your RB room is really good, right? Like where you got them, you turned out great. Olave is the one. Burks, you probably rather him as your third receiver than your second, but I get it because you took Kelsey, so that's fine. Pickens and Johnson. Look, your receiver room is very young, and you have a lot of upside. And Richardson, again, very young. So this is a team that's going to, I guess, probably be very unpredictable from week to week.
Yeah, and this is I don't want to go back into the Aaron Jones thing, but if he had gotten, let's say, Lockett, JSN, Dotson, Addison, Hollywood, Pickens, Flowers instead of Aaron Jones, because you already have Najee and Gibbs. So Aaron Jones is your RB3, and then maybe instead of Johnston, you got P. Ryan or Dillon or somebody like that. I think I'd like this team a lot more. I mean, I love the Kelsey Olave start. I like Najee and Gibbs. I don't even mind Burks there, shoot for the upside. But if you'd gotten another wide receiver and then Pickens and then replaced, so if you replace Aaron Jones with one of those wide receivers, pick one, and then got Pickens and then replace Johnston with one of those running backs, pick one. I think I'd like this team a little bit better, but there's a lot of guys on this team that I like other than Aaron Jones. So overall, I like the team.
Yeah, no, I do like it overall. Like I said, the receiver is very young, but there is a ton of upside there. I like Burks and Pickens, so this is a pretty this is a team I would be happy with if I had it. All right, but the team I am happy with because I have it is Diggs, Waddle, and DJ Moore, and then Justin Fields. Running backs are Pierce, Swift, and Kendra Miller, and that's it. My receivers are Zay Flowers, Mooney, Mechie, and of course Kyle Phillips with Muth at tight end.
Yeah, I mean, can't argue with those first three wide receivers. Fields, Pierce should be solid at running back. Swift has the upside, whether people want to believe it or not. He's got the downside too. I admit it. He's got the risk, but he's got the upside. I like the Flowers pick. Love that Muth pick. Probably would have liked to seen some more running backs late to give yourself some depth there at the running back position, because if Swift does bust and Kendra Miller takes a while to break out, could be hurting there. But I know we had to get our deep sleepers, so that kind of changed things. But I definitely like the start of the draft. Like this team definitely has a ton of upside. On this team.
That's what I was going for. It does make things easier when you only have to start two receivers, right? Because then I get DJ Moore, he's my flex, and then just find two running backs that are good. Yeah, I kind of like how this broke, and I wasn't sure about taking Fields because I've been taking quarterbacks too early, but then I felt like that was an end of a tier, right? And if I waited, and if I had waited, Herbert Lawrence would have been gone. So I think it broke out pretty well for me. But what about you? You took Garrett Wilson and Eckler in round 2, Ridley, Lamar, Pittman, and Mike Williams. And then running back, you got Brian Robinson, James Cook, Tyler Algier, Zeus with Evan Ingram at tight end, and then Puka at wide receiver. Just love saying that. All right, so obviously you got some studs at receiver with Wilson, Ridley, Pittman, Williams. And that's nice that those two, like, you don't have to really worry about either one of them being solid all year. You can kind of flip back and forth, right, based on matchup. So Eckler, of course, is your anchor. And between Robinson, Cook, I'm sure if not both, one of those guys will be fine each and every week. So, yeah, good values here. Really solid. No complaints. No complaints about this team.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I like it all the way up to Ingram. I would never draft Zeus or Puka Nacua that early, of course. But we were going for deep sleepers, so I drafted them. Yeah, I think between Robinson and Cook, I should have a serviceable RB2, work the waiver wire, try to get another serviceable wide running back too. But my 4 wide receivers, I should never have to worry about wide receiver the whole season between those 4 guys. I should be fine. Even if they bust or get hurt, I should be fine. So just work the waiver wire for that RB2. That's all this team really needs. Easy.
There you go.
Easy game.
And last but not least, just incredible. Went with Barkley and then Sun God, Joe Burrow, not Justin Herbert, DK Metcalf, George Kittle, Mixon, Kamara, Gabe Davis, Jamal Williams, Thielen, Gus, and Foreman. I feel like there's some players here I'm not big on, but you think overall this roster works?
Were the Thielen and Gus Edwards, were those his deep sleeper picks?
I actually don't think so. I think this was before that post was up.
Yeah, I mean, Barkley, St. Brown, I'd probably flip Barkley and St. Brown. It doesn't matter. You're at the turn there. I mean, I would technically go Eckler over Barkley, but if you want to go Barkley, it's fine. And then splitting hairs there. Burrow, fine there. We talked about DK. I think there's other wide receivers I prefer. I like the Kittle pick. That's good. I think Mixon, man, I don't know. I know people are going to comment in there when I say this. You take out that 55-point game last year, Mixon was pretty bad. I don't see how he gets better. I don't know. There's just other running backs I'd rather gamble on. Kamara, we've talked about a bunch. I'm not really drafting him. Maybe Gabe is okay there. I think Jamal's fine there. I definitely am not drafting Thielen or Gus Edwards, to be honest. But I do like the Foreman pick. I like that Foreman pick today.
Yeah, if you just tell me in a vacuum, would you take Joe Mixon in the 6th round? Yeah, I think that's fine. That's decent value. But would I take him before DeAndre Swift or even Aaron Jones? No, I would have rather have those guys. We talked about Aaron Jones. I'd still rather have him than Mixon. And then the Kittle in round 5 again. It could be good, but I don't think that it's more important than getting your flex because you had DK at wide receiver 2. Like, okay, but yeah, you're gonna have to flex either Gabe Davis or Hope Kumar doesn't get suspended and flex him. So flex is going to be an issue here on this roster. Yeah, so just not enough depth, not enough quality depth is what I would say.
Yeah.
Mixon is what everyone thinks Aaron Jones is. Yeah, well, I think that's kind of true. All right. Well, there we go. Another draft in the books. Thanks for joining us. If you want to get in on some dynasty action, we did a mock yesterday, and every Wednesday is now dynasty mock. Want to get in a real dynasty draft with us? Check it out right there, Building Champions. We have a video course where you can watch and get educated on how to dominate in dynasty really quickly, and then join us and actually put it into action. Got a few spots left. And if you want access to all that other stuff you see on there, including way to get into these drafts early, well, flockfantasy.com/endgame. That's where it's at. Be on the lookout for more videos throughout the weekend, and we'll see you for some more mocks next week.